Jim, thank you very much for coming on the podcast. When we look at athletic directors in general, a lot of people think that all of the hard stuff is really at the top, the Power Five. And while some of that may be true with all the contracts and everything else, a lot of stuff comes down to even the FCS level or Division II level. How do you really cope with that when you're in the AD chair? Because it's not just one thing, it's several things, and it's 17 or 22 different sports.
Well, first, Troy, I appreciate the opportunity to visit today. I love what you're doing with your podcast. To answer your question, being athletic director in 2015 is so much different than it was in 2010, 1995, and 1990, and keep on going back. I spent 25 years in the industry, and you really, and I'm very good friends with a lot of athletic directors, and I actually do a lot of consulting right now with a lot of Division I and college athletic departments, and the athletic directors are struggling. It's a very lonely position. You're beholden to many masters, if you will. You have to answer from compliance to facilities to vision to fundraising to staff, human resourcing management. You have to manage the counseling aspect of it. People have problems. Sports is a microcosm of society. So in this day and age, the role of an athletic director is near impossible. At the Power Five conferences, the influx of revenue has been very helpful, driven by TV. Certainly football drives is the tail that wags the conference affiliation dog, not just at the highest of levels, but right on down to the FCS level. So as an athletic director, you are responsible for making sure that your institution and your president and your brand are positioned appropriately moving forward to be aligned with like institutions, raising the correct revenue. And really at the end of the day, the revenue piece is so huge. So outside of the Big Five conferences, you're seeing that the mid-level FBS, any FCS institution are really struggling because the lion's share of institutions are losing money, and the lion's share of institutions don't have the TV money that ultimately powers and supports the entire entity at this point.
And so you come from a time to where it was before and after the budget crisis has started happening, because they happened around 2007. Before
Correct.
that, a lot of times, institutions could cover the bills, or at least they kind of gave service to it. But then after that point, it just seemed to be that you're almost on your own, even at the smaller levels.
Yeah, correct. I was... I spent 11 years as the athletic director at Stony Brook, and I had a great president for about nine of those years, and we were aligned philosophically. And a part of that alignment is fiscal responsibility, right, and decision-making and setting priorities as a university. So first and foremost, I think what makes your job great in life is having a great boss, right? And it's not necessarily the brand you work for, it's who you work for and the vision and the mission that leader sets for everybody. And then holding people accountable and allowing you to do your job and doing it well. So, yes, I was an athletic director prior to the financial collapse. I'm in the shadows of New York City, so it was really hit home for us here. And I can assure you that institutions always struggle financially. But after that collapse, institutions had to make decisions. They dropped programs. They dropped adjunct classes, adjunct professors. They've had to streamline where the revenue comes in. And for college athletics, at the most institutions, it's driven by, ticket revenue. It's driven by donors. It's driven by corporate sponsorships, and certainly driven by student fees. I mean, student fees really drive so many budgets within the infrastructure of Division I NCAA. I don't want to name schools, but certainly there are a lot of institutions that, absent a strong student fee, their athletic programs are in dire straits. Not just cutting sports, but maybe even dropping out of the Division I bracket within the NCAA structure. So yes, I was fortunate to be a part of a growing athletic program. When I took the job at Stony Brook in 2003, we had one conference championship. When I left, we had 41. Our budget was $7 million. In 2003, when I left, it was $25 million. Our largest gift before I got there was $1 million. When I left, it was $8 million. We built $80 million in athletic facilities during my tenure, and that was during the worst economic time in the history of our country. And how we did that was by having a great president and selling a vision and a mission And so people want to see a return on their investment in life, right? I mean, like I said, I live in the shadows of New York City, the greatest financial market in the world, the largest market in the world. And when you make an investment in the financial industry of $100 or $1, you want to see a return. And donors would like to see a return on investment. So if they give you $1,000, they want to make sure that $1,000 is going to help the brand of their university, their corporation if they're a corporate sponsor, and the alignment with such institutions really drive the next donor and the next gift. And the success of that investment nationally, locally, globally really drives all of your revenue within the infrastructure of the athletic department.
Well, and this is a really good case point, is that you had a lot of potential donors or prospects that you had been working on for a certain amount of time who may have had money back in 2004 that by 2008 were essentially broke. Correct.
I can tell you that one gift, we received a lead gift for a facility of $500,000 from a prominent donor. When I was the athletic director at Stony Brook, and that was a lead gift, and it was anonymously matched by somebody else. And that person didn't want to have his name on it. He was doing it out of the kindness of his heart. He was doing it as a local community member who liked what we were doing and believed in it. And this was during the same period of the economic collapse that took place in the mid-2000s. And I think it was 2008. I can't remember exactly right now. But the long and short of it is I get the phone call and say, Jim, I love you, and I love what you're doing, and I'm going to honor my commitment, but I just lost it. And that was a very scary moment because we were in construction on that project. So I had to go back to the university. I had to go back to the president with my tail between my legs and say, we have a problem. And the president at the time was great and gracious, and she allowed us to continue to move on with the project and pay back over time. The other thing that had to happen was that we created debt service. So we took a loan out versus the university, and over the course of time, we would pay it back. And we've since done that. We paid back that loan. And then we had another donor who had made a verbal commitment to me of, at that time was the largest gift given to a SUNY athletic program, who was in the financial industry, the hedge fund industry, who made a verbal to me and called me up the day after the collapse and said, hold off. The world as we know it just changed, and we need to hold off on this gift. I love you. We're going to give it to you, but you're going to have to wait. We ended up waiting 5 years for that gift. He made his way back, and she made her way back, and we made our way back. And from that, we were able to build some beautiful facilities and give some incredible people some incredible scholarship dollars. So, it was scary, but like with anything else in life, success comes from, the hand you were dealt and using it to the best of your ability, right? You're dealt a hand and you use it to the best of your ability. And I really believe great companies are built on the back of the staff, on great leadership, on a great product and resiliency. You have to have great passion and the ability to evolve and be introspective and believe in what you're doing. Those are what great companies do. They evolve, and they're fearless, and they have great leadership. But really, success comes from getting the hand you were dealt and using it to the best of your ability.